Known as Battle Chopper in American arcades, Mr. Heli was yet another classic shooter from Irem. The game takes place over 6 multi-scrolling levels, with each ending with a boss battle. As with most arcade shoot-em-ups, the plot behind the action doesn't really matter. So if it moves, you shoot it. If it shoots you, you avoid the bullets. Every now and then blue crystals appear. Collecting these will act as money to buy new weapons or energy from hidden boxes behind breakable walls. Some of you may have noticed that in some areas I'm cheating with the invulnerability switched on. This is due to the game being really difficult and sadly not having the time to put into learning the enemy patterns, which I do regret. We can never expect the Atari ST to match the arcade visuals, but I would have liked something a bit better than this. First thing you'll notice apart from the pretty choppy frame rate is that the playing area is incredibly cramped. I feel that the port would have been much more playable had the sprites been a little smaller. Still, the game isn't without its merits. The bomb and regular fire are now mapped to the same button, so both fire together and it's rapid fire too. Something that the arcade really could have done with, and it's a big improvement. Unfortunately, the audio is not an improvement. It's pretty weak and doesn't alternate for every level, which is a shame. Still, on the bright side, at least there's some parallax scrolling in this port. Just like the ST port, this Amiga port is also quite choppy, but for some reason seems to play a little better. It also looks a little nicer in the graphic department, but where this port really shines is in the music. It's excellent and even uses samples from the arcade machine. Again, just like the ST port, this also features the same control system, which is good. I just wish it shared the life system with the arcade. By this I mean Mr. Heli on the Amiga is one of those games whereby when it says you have one life left, it actually means you have no lives left. I really don't like this system as I find it confusing. The life I'm using should be the final one, with a 0 or no icon in the life meter to show I have no extra lives left. Oh well, I'm just ranting now. Straight away you know which port this is from the lack of colour. It must be said though that as far as playability goes, the ZX Spectrum port isn't bad at all. It does differ a little from the arcade in that every crystal is a large one and worth $100, whilst other versions also feature smaller $20 crystals. This port also doesn't have the shield powered up, although you can gain one by buying more fuel when you already have maximum fuel. From the initial boot image, you'll be forgiven in thinking the Amstrad CPC port was going to be a direct ZX Spectrum port, but then the game starts and all those fears are lifted. What we have here is an excellent, colourful and very playable port of Mr. Heli. In fact, I'd say it's far more playable than the Amiga and ST ports we just took a look at. It's smoother too. Sure, this port doesn't follow the arcade stage layouts perfectly, but they're close enough. A special mention must go to the sound too. Great tunes and sound effects. It's just a shame that it's the same tune for all stages. Commodore 64 owners can quite often hold their head high, looking smug when it comes to 2D shooters, and if you owned Mr. Heli, you'd be holding your head up so high. This is by far the best home computer port. It's so fluid that it seems more like a console game than a computer game. A lot of this is down to the C64 version having sprites that are better proportioned to the play area. The bonus points don't end there either. You can now start your choosing stage. Well, one of the first 3 at least. If there was one minus point, it would have to be the lack of sound effects with music. It's either one or the other. And saving the best till last? Well, it's not really fair to compare a console arcade port to a computer arcade port, as consoles always win. Unless we include the Japanese computers such as the FM Towns or X68000. And that is the case here with the PC Engine version. That's not to say that the C64 or Amstrad CPC ports are rubbish, mind you. They're also excellent for the hardware they're running on. So what we have here with the PC Engine port is a very close to arcade experience. Upon starting the game, you're greeted with 2 modes, normal or arcade. Basically, they are the difficulty settings. I'm playing on arcade mode here, and it's really tough. Normal mode is also tough, but nowhere near as bad as this mode. And let's take a look at all those versions of Mr. Heli running side by side.
you